Hi, this is the Heart Surgery, episode 3, and today we diving in God and Motherhood. I'm your host, Shatilia Lee, and I have 3 beautiful women here with me today that are a part of the Walls of Salvation, and they are also mothers. And I was inspired by them because I one day want to be a mother, and I just wanted some feedback for myself. And I think a lot of other people have these same questions that I'm going to share today. So I'm just going to start with Sister Ariel and have her introduce herself and how long she's been in the ministry.
I'm Ariel Harris. I have 3 children, and I've been at Walls of Salvation Gates of Praise since 2016.
I'm Ekeyda, Sprague. I have 2 young kids. They're twins, boy and a girl. I've been also with Walls of Salvation since 2016.
And my name is Charlene Lee. I am a minister at the Walls of Salvation Gates of Praise Ministries. I've been here since 2006.
Great. So we're going to dive straight into our first question. And I'm going to start with Ariel on this side of the couch, and then we're going to work our way over to Charlene. And I also just want to add that I chose Ariel because you have 3 kids, correct? And they are in the process, same thing with Keita, she has 2. They're in the process of mothering. And I chose my mom because she has finished mothering. So we can get 2 different sides of how motherhood works and just a better understanding. So my first question is, how or did your mother play a role in introducing you to God?
She definitely did. I take back to what you said on the last Sunday, Charlene, that sometimes we're the only Bible that people see, or, they don't. I can't get my words together. I done messed up already.
You're fine.
I'm sorry. Do I need to start over?
No, you can edit.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes, we're the only Bible people see.
Right.
And my mom, she was that person.
Yeah.
She had us in the church at a young age, and just how she treat people, I guess that was like my first introduction, like seeing her work in the ministry.
I definitely grew up in the church. All my life I've been in church. All I know is God. There's nothing really outside of that I don't know. But as far as my mom, it doesn't escape hardship just because you grew up in the church.
Right.
So I had an early introduction. If it wasn't my mother, it was my grandmother. If it wasn't my grandmother, it was all my aunts and, some of my uncles. And it made it easier, but it still was hard.
Yeah.
So, again, growing up in the ministry, it's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
It doesn't exempt you from having struggles and having to go through the process to know who you are in God.
Right.
So, yes, I definitely have experienced all of that.
Okay. What about you?
I myself was not raised in the church.
Mm-hmm.
I got saved at 19.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't come from a home where we were raised in the church. Everybody was just in sin and doing their own thing. So it wasn't until I turned 19 that my mom actually got saved. And then she began to have a call on her life and began to preach the gospel. And so my relationship stemmed from that, and then watching her from that point and going forward into the ministry. So with that.
And so, like you were saying, like basically your mom being a good person and being that person you can look to. So did you take that from her? How did you take what you've seen in her and incorporate it in your children today?
Just being there for them.
Yeah.
I came from a single parent household, and that's all she knew was her kids and being involved with them. And that's what I want to do for my babies. I want them to know God, but I want them to know that God is, head of their life. But, mama is also there too.
Right.
That's what my mom did for me.
Yeah. What about you, Keita? So what did you pull from your mom that you seen that you was like, I'm going to take this and give this back to my children as well?
With my mom is definitely cut from a different cloth. She's so strong in so many different ways. With my upbringing, my actual father wasn't in my life, so she also had to do it by herself until my stepdad came into the picture. And so with her, I got, the strength to keep pushing and fight in spite of, the setbacks. And I think that's why I am the way I am today because, all she knew was to get up and fight. Because my grandmother's a fighter. My grandma has a story that is unimaginable. And, my fight, it doesn't just, again, stem from my mom. It stems from my bloodline of strong women that I came from. So, and as far as that instilling into my children, I am very stern with my kids. I don't take nothing from them. Like, I want them to be kids, but I also want them to understand that life is not easy.
Right.
And nothing that you do will go without consequence.
Exactly.
So, as far as my kids, I try to keep them, being that they're only 6, I try to show them that, hey, God is who he is in our life for a reason. And they still don't understand it, however. They get sad and they show a lot of emotions when I do explain to them a lot about God. Well, I don't want to go to hell. Which is, I love that they fear the consequence, but I don't want it to be so overpowering that they only thinking about the negative aspect of serving God. Oh, you're going to hell. I want them to see the beauty of serving God, the joy that you get from walking with Him.
Yeah.
So
That's good. What about you that you carry from your mom? After.
After my mom, got saved and things started changing in the house, there were strengths that I pulled from her. Even back when she was in sin, there were certain strengths that I did pull, that I wanted to instill in my children, like, her work ethic and, her creativity that she used to pour into us. So it wasn't not all negative stuff. It was a lot of positive things there that she showed me along the way. Like I said, how to create and how to fix up and how to bring certain things together. But after she had, received her salvation, and I seen that strength in her relationship with Christ, I definitely wanted that for my children, and I wanted to instill in them the things of God. And I wanted to go down a different path in how, because before salvation, it was a lot of cursing in the house and chaos and different things of that nature. But then after I seen the transformation, okay, I'm not going to curse at my children.
Right.
I'm not going to pick up those negative things and put in. I'm going to instill positive in them.
So, my next question is, what was the most challenging thing about becoming a mom? And, how did you overcome, that challenge?
The most challenging thing for me was becoming a mom so early. I got pregnant at 17, and I had my son, and I was in the 11th grade. I didn't even want to. I was more ashamed, and I didn't, I was. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I was more ashamed during that process instead of being, like most moms happy. I just felt, like, oh, you really messed up. You really messed up. But, after everything calmed down and I finally had my son, the support from everybody, it made me feel a lot better.
Right.
And I was able to carry on and be the mother that he needs to be, for me to be.
What about you?
well, for me, as far as,
What was the most challenging thing about becoming a mom? And how did you overcome that challenge?
honestly, I'm not done overcoming the challenge. Every day is something new with my kids. They have two totally different personalities. But my challenge was, I had the support. I was married. I was 25 or 24 when I found out I was pregnant. So it's like, okay, you know, it wasn't abnormal. It's like it came naturally, and I have 3 younger siblings, so it wasn't okay. Oh, this is something new. Run away. But the challenge was when, for me, is that you know my husband wasn't ready.
Yeah.
We planned to have kids, and we wanted to. We came together and said that this is what we wanted to do, but when the reality hit, he wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So most of the load was always on me, and you know that's 2 kids constantly day in and day out. Yes, he worked, but because of the attachment that he had with his own father and his own relationship with his mother, projected onto how he saw and how he started to raise our children.
Yeah.
So the first year of their life, all they knew was mom.
Yeah.
Dad was there, but daddy didn't make himself known as consistent as I had. So with me, that was my biggest challenge. But for me to get through it, I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Because if I stopped, then who would have my kids?
Right.
And as a mother, I was staying at home for at least 2 years because I had a feeling like obligation, those are my kids, I want to take care of. I didn't want my mom, my dad, or anybody else in my family to take away the joy that I would have in seeing my kids take their first step, they talk and stuff like that. So overcoming that is just the best feeling in the world, but again, it's still not overcoming, but I haven't overcame it.
Right.
And it's, again, to this day, my kids is just, they're everywhere. They want to do everything. They want to be everything. And it's a beautiful thing because they have flourished in, again, 6 years, but it seems so short. Them 6 years don't seem like it's 6 years. They still just, I just had them in my mind. So with them is, they give me life. My children give me life, and I thank God every day for them, even though they get, they know how to touch the buttons. Yeah. But it's just like, I know if God never placed them, even though I was married, if he never placed them in my life, I wouldn't be here.
Yes.
And it's like, it makes me laugh, but it also makes me cry because it's like, I would have never thought, you know, I will be as strong as I have been as far as raising my kids. Again, regardless if I came from a strong background, you always have that doubt that you can do.
Yeah.
So it was, again, it was very challenging, but you know, it's just, I still have my days that I go through because given the extent of how my relationship is with their father and stuff like that, and my life just in general, because I have my own personal battles that I deal with, and I try not to project, you know, my daddy issues on my children,
Right.
and or also my insecurities as a young woman.
Yeah.
You know, I had, again, my own challenges, so then bringing a child in the midst, thinking you're over it, all them things resurface again. So I'm still working on it. I really am.
So what about you?
Just like Sister Ariel, I got pregnant early. Had you at the age of 17. But unlike her, I didn't really feel the shame of it, being pregnant, you know, because like I said, you know, in our family, everybody was in sin, and everybody, it seemed normal. Oh, I'm pregnant, but I did wind up dropping out of high school, you know, once I got pregnant with you, you know. I think the shame came, you know, just by being in school and being your stomach growing and your peers are looking at you, and you know, even though everybody's doing the same thing, now I have something inside of me and that's growing and everybody's looking. So that was the shame of not the family per se, but the shame of just my peers, of me being pregnant at 17, and that caused me to drop out of school. And you know, and I knew I wanted to be the best mom I could be, and just, you know, pour into you and instill into you, you know, like I said, things that I didn't feel that I got. Yeah.
How did you think you overcame that shame? Like, at what point did you come over this, you know, feeling this way?
As far as my peers concerned, I think I just let it go. Like I didn't care anymore what they thought.
Yeah.
You know, as long as my family really wasn't saying anything, you know, to me, and everybody embraced the fact that, you know, my husband, my boyfriend at the time, he was my boyfriend, his mom, you know, embraced the fact that you were her first grandchild, and then my mom embraced the fact that you were her first grandchild. So I had the support of my family. You know, they didn't see anything wrong with having children out of wedlock, because most of the children are out of wedlock. You know, it wasn't be married and do this. So once I got past, you know, the shame of my peers, I was like, you know, I didn't really care anymore what they thought.
So back to Ariel. So, at what point did you realize incorporating God into the way that you parent is a must?
I wish I would have instilled in my children. Of course, you know, you teach them to pray, you teach them, but actually going into a church building, and I wish I would have did that at a much earlier age. We didn't have like a church home until like we came here in 2016.
Yeah.
So me and my husband did drop the ball with that. But what was the question?
At what point did you realize you needed to incorporate God? Like,
Just the changing world, like from me growing up to now, it's crazy.
different too.
It's definitely different. In the cartoons, in the music, I mean, it's not hidden messages anymore.
Yeah,
It's right in your face. And I want, like I said before, I'm the mama bear. I want them to be protected at all times, even from the dangers they can't see. We have to fight, you know. So,
Well, my kids was, again, raised up in church. They was babies just born when I started coming to church here. So it's always been there in their face, but it being there from somebody else's perspective is never like your own. I appreciate Apostle and everything, you know, in my walk with God and still learning. But as a mother, again, you do become so overbearing that you worry about the what ifs of your children, and then you do forget God.
Right.
And I know who He is, but it's just like sometimes you just focus on, I want the best for my kids. I'm going to make this happen for them. And like God was like, what about me? Where am I in the equation? And I still thank Him because He didn't leave me while I left Him to raise my kids. Because I know it's been plenty of times that something could have happened while I was at the apartment by myself with my kids. So it was a must because it's a must for me to serve Him.
Right.
So it's still day by day, I'm still slowly teaching them. But it's like she said, it's so much evil and it's so much easy access to the things you don't need to have in your life. So, you know, my son done learned something new, which is the middle finger. And so, you know, he's like, I don't know what it means, because, you know, my mom don't play about kids and being disrespectful. So he found out the hard way what it meant, even though I told him, but he didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So it's like, we can't shelter them, so our only job, as much as we try, you know, I feel like, but as long as we did what we supposed to do for them and show them who God is, and even if it's not to the perspective that it's a preaching, it's little nuggets that's here and there that will help build them up and maybe have them, to give them something strong to stand on. So it's always and forever going to be a must, as long as I have breath in my body, to try to incorporate God every step I take. I might not always, I know I don't do it upright all the time, because I can get very vicious with my children when they disrespectful, but I'm still learning. And I guess that's the most beautiful part of me growing with my children and God, because the more I learn, the more they learn, and when they see me do certain things, hey, okay, Mama did it this way, maybe it'll work for me this way. So yeah, it's going to be a must forever.
Now, just to piggyback off of that, I think what I have learned in growing up, and just even, you even said the word dropping the ball. When you put God first, every ball that you drop, He catch. Like everything that you miss, He got it. Because you have put Him first. That's all God is asking, because he know we're not perfect.
Right.
He know we're going to make mistakes. He know that we're not going to remember to tell him everything, teach him everything. So, I was always, like, I remember going through this period, like, yeah, wanting to do this and wanting to do that, you know, and God, like, but I caught it. I was there to catch that, and I just wanted to put that out there to anybody, like, even if you're feeling like you're missing things with your kids, God is there to catch that, and he going to put it right back in place where he needed to go. And I'm going to hit you with that same question. When did you realize it is a must that I incorporate God in my parenting?
Well, after I got saved when I was 19, I realized it was a must. I knew that everything that I had learned prior to that the dysfunction of the family, was not going to work.
Yeah.
It was not going to work for me. It was not going to work for my children. So I just began anything that I learned. I wanted to, like Sister Ekeyda said, instill into my children and just growing with them, in Christ. I didn't have all the answers, but my prayers began to change.
Yeah.
Like I was asking God, Lord God, teach me how to be a better mother, show me how to be a better wife.
Yeah.
There were things that I just did not know.
Yeah.
And it was no shame in that. I just didn't know. I didn't have the tools. Nobody just said, well, this is what a wife is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And this is what a mother is supposed to be. I had no tools, no foreplan at all. I had to go to God, get on my knees and say, God, teach me how to be a better mother.
Yeah.
Teach me how to be a better wife to my husband. And too often times, we don't go to God with those things. He cares. God cares about everything that you care about. And if you just ask the question, if you just, pray to him and just say, look, I don't know this. I don't know this stuff. I don't know what to do. God, I'm lost. He will show you, and he will direct you and lead you out. And he'll take you into the scriptures, and he will just show you in his word what it is that he wants you to do and how he wants you to teach your children.
I feel like also, as far as you said with the floor plan, I learned there is actually no floor plan but God. And no matter how much you try to think you're going to go by this, it never works out the way you want it to work out.
Right.
And as far as my kid, I had him on the best schedule, and folks said, wow, like, you really good. I said, yeah, I'm going by that schedule, but it only took that one time for me to drift off that schedule for like a couple of days, and it been chaos since. So no matter how structured we think we're going to have our lives, it's never going to be the way we anticipate it to be.
Right.
It's like everything happens as for it to be a lesson to us. Like, again, as a mother, we still learn just like our children learn, because we don't have all the answers to the questions that they might have to ask us. So it's the same way with our relationship with God. It's like we don't know everything. So only person we can go to is him to ask these questions. We might not be so stubborn, and I know in my case sometimes I can't hear him, but I still want to do what I want to do because I feel adamant about what I feel is right. So, and then boom, when it blows up in my face, I'm gonna sit there all sad. But it's the same way with motherhood. We gotta pick up the pieces and not even just like saying God not picking up, but hey God, I want to give this back to you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know you got it, but I also want to release it, because we have a tendency of saying God got it, but the whole time we still tugging warring with him with it. It's like, again, as a mother, I do that a lot with my kids, because I know my kids are acceptable to a lot of things, but also as far as demonic forces, I know my kids have been attacked.
Yes.
And it's knowing that, and early on, I couldn't help my son. So my son dealt with night terrors and actually being tormented by a spirit.
Yes.
And he would cry around the same time every night. And he would see the thing. He would run through the house. And a lot of times, it happened when, at the time I was living with my mom and my dad. And it was always because I worked 2 jobs.
Yeah.
So most of the time it happened when I wasn't there. But the night, as far as like midnight, around like 12 o'clock, always up. And he is like a blood scream. Like, he just top his lung out. And then if it's not bothering him, it'll mess with my daughter, but it wasn't mess with her as much as my son. And it's just to know that now my child can tell me, Mom, I had this type of dream. I see this, I see that. And I know it's instantly that I need to go into prayer mode.
Yeah.
Because my daughter, tells me, Mom, something keeps touching me,
Mhm.
or I see this. That's the best part of, growing with your children as far as going into God, because things that you can't see, they can.
Yes.
And it helps prepare you beforehand, say, okay, I know what I need to do to stop this.
Mhm.
So it's a lovely thing, but we don't have no plan like God's plan. At the end of the
Yes.
day, we can try. It don't work.
My next question, I asked this question because I know that I have struggled with my mental health in the past, and it's just me. Like, I don't have no children looking up at me and asking me for anything. I have a hard time dealing with it. I'm coming out of depression and struggling with anxiety and stuff like that. So I want to say, like, how do y'all maintain your mental health, your own mental health? Like your own mental health, your self-care, making that time and making sure you have time to spend with God. How do y'all distribute yourselves the way that y'all do?
Nobody but God. I work with people with intellectual disabilities,
Mhm.
so it can be chaotic at work.
Yeah.
Then to go home to 3 children with, and then you have wearing so many hats, and sometimes I'll just sit in the car before I even walk in the house to decompress.
Yeah.
That's one of the ways I spend time for myself before I go into my next job,
Yeah.
Motherhood. And then at night, once they're all in bed, I shut that door. And now I have started incorporating. At first, I would just scroll on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
but now I have started incorporating reading my word.
Yeah.
Because this world is crazy.
Yeah.
This world is crazy. And like you said before, I always think like, oh, I could do this, I could do this. But it's no plan like God's plan. And when I realized, I believe when I finally realized it was in 2021, that Ariel, you cannot do nothing.
Yeah.
You can't do nothing without God. You can ask your mom questions, you can ask your husband questions, you can ask your best friends questions, but I had to put him back into my life.
Yeah.
So, but I like to take trips when
Yeah.
I can,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to eat at restaurants.
Yeah.
So that's my me time.
Yes.
I'm very simple.
Mm-hmm.
It don't take much for me.
Well, as for me, as far as my mental health, it's definitely been a challenge because when you never overcome your situations to the extent where you're healed, but it's just any little thing would trigger it.
Yeah.
So, as far as me maintaining, it's not really balanced yet.
Yeah.
I'm still dealing with it because I have my days that I feel like I'm on top of the world, and then the next second I'm just back down to reality. Like, okay, why are you so happy? You really, your self-conscious and the things that you already done been through. Now, I already dealt with depression. Early part of my years when we had the Let's Heal conference, I had, honestly, been like 2 years where I actually was genuinely happy with my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then, not saying my kids was a problem, but it's when you really still didn't have nobody else to turn to. So I have had plenty of breakdowns from the time that they was born until this day. And honestly, a lot of it's recent. I've been going through because the sense of my relationship with my husband, the relationship with my brothers, my relationship with my biological father, even though he's not in the picture, is something I still yearn for.
Yeah.
And also, my relationship with myself. Last year, I decided that I'm gonna take a momcation,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to Lynchburg by myself, and I enjoyed myself, but it's still like I still felt empty. I was complete to the extent that I was like, I'm really here by myself, and it's like, okay, I had to keep moving. I had to find something to do so I didn't have too much idle time to sit there and think. And I took my Bible with the intentions on, okay, this is gonna be me asking God all the questions I need to ask Him. I didn't do it, and I feel like that was my whole goal. And being that I didn't do it, I missed a whole lot of opportunities to move forward from a lot of things. But I also know that I know how my mind works.
Mm-hmm.
And again, being too idle too long, again, being that I have dealt with depression before, and have a off and on with anxiety and stuff like that. It does hit me sporadically, so I didn't want to get myself too comfortable with just hearing nothing, because until recently is when I really have been able to actually hear God.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my own thought that I knew it wasn't my thought.
Yeah.
So then I was unlearned, might as well say, at that point in time. I knew what my intentions was, but I was unlearned. I did read my Bible, but I didn't commune with God the way I intended to do. But he did give me, a sense of relaxation. I went and got me a massage. I got my feet and nails done. I took care of me. And now I done slowly started to incorporate that back into that. I don't care if that means just me throwing on lashes and doing my eyebrows. I'm going to make myself presentable, because I feel like when I let myself go is when I hated myself more.
Yeah.
So each day I'm still trying to pick up and find who I used to be. Not to be better than the next person, but to be a better version than I used to be. And like I said, the mental health is, I always have a crowd, because I always talk her ear off about the stuff that I go through. But that's the only person I can talk to my mom and dad, but it's never like somebody who's unbiased.
Yeah.
Parents gonna always take up for you regardless of the situation. They can say they don't, but they do.
Yeah.
So it's like, today I'm good. In spite of my situation, I'm still smiling. And yesterday I refused to sit at home because my kids went with their dad to their family house, and I refused to just sit home and cry.
Yeah.
So I got up, got dressed, and I went out. I didn't go nowhere but in my grandma's house and eat some food, but it was the push that I needed for myself. And I know that God wanted me not to sit there and dwell on the what if. Like, if you keep giving it to me, why you keep picking it up?
Yeah.
And that is my problem. I still deal with depression because I keep picking it back up.
Yeah.
I still deal with anxiety because I keep picking it back up. After I said, God, I give it to you. Come to church, cry, hoop and holler, and all this other stuff. And I turn around and I pick it back up. I can get good. As soon as I get in the quiet time of my home is when I have too much time to just say, let me nitpick and pick this piece up. Okay, and God, I gave that piece to you, but I might want that little piece back because it's the only thing I feel like I have to hold on to.
Yeah.
So, each day is a challenge, but I'm going to get through it. And by God and the help of family and friends that just keep my mind focused on not the negative stuff, I'm going to walk the walk that God wants me to walk, regardless if it hurts, because it hurts. It really hurts. And you talk about heart surgery, that's some stuff, because he'll strip things out your life and you still don't understand why.
Right.
And I'm in the process of the stripping, and it's hard because you become accustomed to people or a presence, but not the right presence.
Right.
So I am learning to again love myself unconditionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always say, oh, I love me. When I came out of my, first time really coming out of my depression, I said, oh, I love me. But now I can look at me and I know I made it. Can't nobody tell me otherwise, regardless if you say, oh, you a big girl. I love me. And, it took me a long time to even love my face. And, insecurities, depressions, and then if you just hear one negative thing, and that's why I hate social media. I scroll on it, but I can't stand it because they nitpick about the little things. They don't see you. And people don't understand how much it affects folks that nobody sees them for who they are. They just want to look at the outward appearance. And again, I'm learning to accept all of my outward, even my inward, even though it's jacked up and dirty and I still got spots and blemishes that I need to clean up or allow God to clean up. I'm working towards it. So, all I would say to anybody is just honestly take your time. Stop trying to rush to be something that you're not meant to be in that moment.
Right.
Yes.
It's because everything's so fast paced. We feel we gotta, I need to look like this by a certain time. I need to do this at a certain time. And like Apostle preached today about the obese people, the 600-pound life, it was a process for them. Regardless if they wanted to or not, it still took them time. They mentally had to be there. If I'm not mentally there where God wants me to be, I'm never going to move forward. I'm still going to keep going backwards and thinking I'm doing something, but I'm reversing in fast mode. That's all honesty. And I don't want to go forward, fast forward either.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stay where he wants me at, and I want to take my time, because when he takes his time and I take my time, let him do it, it's so much better. It's so much genuine peace that you will have after you come through that storm. And like I said, I'm still going through my storm, but each day I'm getting better because I'm allowing him to make my steps, not me make my steps for myself.
It hit me.
Yeah.
It hit me.
Yeah.
Just being patient with God and letting him take you through that process. And even what you were saying about the phones, like I found like most of my time when I'm feeling down is because I didn't spend too much time on social media. And sometimes God be like, shut it down. In midweek, and I be like, I gotta do this for the church. God be like, shut it down. Because now you living in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Now you say, oh, they got married. I'm taking, why I ain't got nobody? Why I ain't got no kids? Like you're forcing God to try to do something in your life. And he said, I got you here right now. And be content with it and go through that process. So you really hit me. So what about you?
Maintaining mental health. I would say in the beginning, no, I wasn't maintaining my mental health because I had 4 children.
Mm-hmm.
And all of my time was poured into them. It was poured into them, and it was poured into my husband. So it was like, I cannot think on me at this moment.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody had something going on. And so I put myself on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
And just not, like you say, not even getting ready, not getting myself together.
Mm-hmm.
Just making sure everybody else had what they needed. If everybody else in the house was satisfied, then I'm satisfied, It wasn't not about me, in those moments. But I came quickly to realize that I was going down.
Yeah.
In a downward spiral really, really quickly. And depression was setting in.
Mm-hmm.
And there were days that, I would take my kids to the bus stop, but I wouldn't comb my hair, and I would not clean. I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't half clean the house.
Yeah.
I was just letting stuff go. I was letting the dishes pile up.
Mm-hmm.
And, my husband would get home from work, and he would be like, okay, you been here all day. Why you ain't done nothing? It was me going downward, and nobody else could see what the problem was.
Yeah.
The problem was I didn't have self-care.
Yeah.
And I didn't really, I didn't care anymore. Like, I'm just letting stuff go. And chaos and stuff started, arguments began to start in the home. And then you start, because I'm falling apart.
Yeah.
And when people don't see you and they don't see your hurt and your need and stuff, and I didn't have nobody I could go to and say, yeah, I would love to have called my mom and say, Mom, I'm going through this and stuff like that. But she had her own issues. And my sisters and my brother, they had their own issues. So you don't go to them because they already got troubles going on in their homes. So you're not going to put how you feeling in their laps. So I realized, like one day, I just took off running down to the creek, and I just fell on my knees. And I just, like, God, if you don't do something, if you don't do something, I'm about to expire.
Yeah.
Because I can't do this anymore. I can't live like this anymore. I'm making sure the kids got everything. I'm making sure my husband got everything, And I was not taking care of me. So I was not in a healthy mental state of mind. And like I said, when you don't have anybody to talk to, it can lead to something disastrous.
Yeah.
And Satan begins to step in, and he starts telling you everything that you're not.
Mm-hmm.
He starts to speak to you and tell you everything that you're not, and you'll start looking at yourself and say, no, you know what, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you begin to believe the voice of the serpent, the lie. And, God stepped in, and he began to allow me to just look at myself, and he began to pick me back up.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to get in his word and say what he said, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. You're made in my image. And I began to start realizing that I was a child of God and I do deserve great things, and I do deserve to be free from what was holding me, what was binding me.
Yeah.
And so God snatched me out quickly, from that, because if he didn't, my children was going to lose their mom. My husband was going to lose a wife. And so I just thank God, for being there when I needed him most, in the deepest pit of my life. And so now that my children are all grown, I have that time for me. I do make time for myself, and like you said, sometimes just get prettied up for nothing. I don't have to go nowhere, Just fix yourself up and say, you know what, I'm a child of the King. I am a princess, or I am a queen, a daughter of the Most. I'm a daughter of Zion.
Yeah. It's amazing. So this goes into our last question. So what advice would you give a new mom or a single woman that desires to become a mother?
Ask the question again, I'm sorry.
So what advice would you give a new mother or a single woman that desires to become a mother?
Incorporate God in everything. No, it's not a floor plan, or with me, I wasn't married. I was 17 years old. Wait if you can. Everything happens for a reason, but try to do it the right way. Get the right partner.
Yeah.
Make sure you have that strong foundation. Make sure.
Advice I would give to first new mothers that are already pregnant. The dishes can wait. Them clothes can wait. The children can wait. Just take time to give yourself, even if that's 20 minutes to yourself. Take that time for yourself, because again, as women and as mothers, we lose ourselves quicker than we think. And our children, as she said, our children and our spouses, we will lose ourselves, and there will be nobody to help pull us up. So take that time for yourself. Again, even if that's just painting your nails, finding a massage and getting a massage, however you see fit to make you happy, even if it's just you drawing or coloring. Something to take your mind off of the added stress in your life. Because, again, as a mother, nobody really knows how much we actually got to carry. And it's not intentional. It's just how we are already made, and we are programmed to carry so much. And it's hard for us to drop it, because that's all we know is to, hey, let's harbor this and let's keep on pushing, because that's all we know. So take your time, and if you want to become a mother, again, to pick our back off what she said, know who your partner is. Know their bloodline. Because generational curses is real. And it's really real. And if you don't know what you're getting yourself into, you can hinder your child and not even know it before they even get here. And so just take the time to know your partner. Know if this is something they truly want, first of all. And if, I say exclude finances and all this other, because regardless of what you think, you can have all the money in the world, you still would never be prepared financially for a child, because the way now this society is, everything is up, down, and name brand is what it is. So yeah, I wouldn't say focus on the financial. Yes, make sure your kids are taken care of, but not make that your main focus. But again, know who your partner is. First of all, know who you are. Because if you don't know if this is something you're ready for, then don't put yourself out there, because it's not for the faint of heart at all. You're welcome. It's like you got to know, and again, you're never going to be completely prepared, but just take the steps that you feel. If that means taking early parenting classes, if this is something you really want to consider, especially as a single woman, and you don't have, and if you're going through the steps of quote unquote science to have a child, know what you're getting yourself into. And I still say it's kind of hard to look down the bloodline of somebody you don't know. But you got to do everything in decency and order. You got to start praying about it. And you guys got to give you discernment who you trying to choose to have a child with. And again, that's still also even if it's done naturally. We have to learn. Again, I don't regret having children. I don't regret getting married. But some days I wish I had put a halt to it. Because the damage that he had, he didn't heal from. And the damage I had, I didn't heal from. So two damaged people came together and had kids. And we didn't really know how to explore the option of getting help at that time. I'm okay with getting help now, but at that time, what's a therapist? Like, who is a therapist? Of course, in the black homes, that don't exist.
Right.
So learn your partner, learn their dislikes, and like that's even also to the extent of a relationship. You got to know what you're getting yourself into before you make those steps. That is something that's lifelong bond. I ain't gonna say bondage, but you're bound forever with this person, regardless if you want them in your life or not. And if they are an active parent, then you still have to co-parent. You still have to learn. Are you healed enough to even co-parent with this person if y'all relationship don't work?
Right.
You got to consider that. It's like, it's a whole lot of avenues that you have to look at. But at the end of the day, if you're not being led by God in the first place, it's always going to be a rocky road, regardless of which way you look at it. I went in, yes, I was married to my A and stuff, and I had my kids. But God won't in there. He was there, but he won't in my relationship. He wasn't the foundation. So again, the extent of two broken people, it's more chaos added onto it. So wait, take your time.
Yeah.
Learn who you are and learn to love yourself, because yes, my kids saved my life, but it might not be the same thing for the next person or the next woman. She might be too far gone, and a child will just be even more of a burden, and then they either give the child up for adoption and child has to go through this unnecessary trauma in their life.
Right.
So fix you before you add anybody else to the equation, whether that's a relationship or a child. Fix you.
Yeah.
That's all I can say on that one.
Wow. That's it.
What about you, Mom?
I'm going to say exactly what Sister Ariel said, putting God first. When you put God first, like Ekeyda said, you gotta find out who you are first before you can become a mother to anybody. And if happenstance you already have became a mother, the Bible says that all things work together for the good for them that love Him. So I can say, being a mother, you have to wear many, many, many hats. You are a chauffeur. You are a teacher. You are a minister. You are their cook. You are the maid. You are the cleaner, the laundry person. You're everything that they need because they cannot help themselves. Children are a major responsibility, and it's going to pull things out of you that you was like, oh my God, what did I sign up for? What did I get myself into? And if you do not have the right partner, the right spouse attached to you that's going to help you rear those children up, you're going to be doing this thing alone. And you don't have to do it completely alone. If you got Jesus, He's going to help you along. He's going to fill in where that dad is not, present. But if you're doing this thing without God, then you're going to struggle. And you're going to struggle horribly. So I just say, like Sister Ekeyda said, if you can wait till God, make you whole, make your spouse whole, and that way y'all can come together and y'all can be whole together, and then y'all can raise children so they can be whole.
That's awesome. I thank y'all so much. Y'all done told me a lot up here. I really did this for myself, to be honest. But I know a lot of people have these same questions. And I feel like even in motherhood, I don't see a lot of mothers getting together and just leaning on one another to talk about what's going on in the home, and like the struggles and, the bad part of it. Because I see a lot of people, they dress their kids up and they're taking pictures and stuff. Everything look peachy. But it's some real stuff going on.
There's some real stuff behind the peachy.
Yeah.
Them pictures ain't even but 2 seconds. You know how much fighting you gotta do before that picture?
Right.
Sis, don't you move.
Right. But this has been a beautiful episode, and that's episode 3 of the heart surgery.